Let's dive into one of the oldest stories ever told. It's about two brothers, Cain and Abel. And even though it's an ancient tale, it has a lesson that's just as real for us today. Really, this whole story is about a feeling that I'm sure every single one of us has felt: jealousy. We're going to explore what happens when that feeling shows up and the choices that come after. All right, let's get started. Our story begins with two brothers who were the very first children of Adam and Eve. So you've got the older brother, Cain. He was a farmer, someone who worked with the soil and grew things. Then there was his younger brother, Abel, who was a shepherd. He looked after the sheep. Two different jobs, but they were family. Well, a time came when they both decided to give a special gift to God. Cain brought some of the food he'd grown, and Abel, he brought the very best he had, the best parts from the first lambs of his flock. And here's where things start to get tricky. For some reason, God was happy with Abel's gift, but not with Cain's. When Cain saw this, you can imagine, he got incredibly angry and hurt. His whole mood just changed. This right here is a really important moment. Cain is dealing with a pretty dangerous feeling, and now he has to make a choice. God saw how upset Cain was and spoke right to him. He asked him, "Why are you so angry?" And then he gave him a heads up about where these feelings could lead him. And God says something really powerful. He tells Cain, "Sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it." Just picture that, like a wild animal waiting to pounce. God is telling him, hey, this feeling wants to control you, but you have the power to be its master. So that makes you think, doesn't it? What does it really mean to rule over a feeling? It seems like we can't always control what feelings pop into our hearts, right? But what we can control is what we do next. We always have a choice about our actions. So what did Cain choose to do? Well, this is where the story gets really sad, and it shows the terrible things that can happen when anger takes control. Cain didn't take the warning to heart. Instead, he just pushed his feelings down and said to his brother, "Hey, let's go out to the field." And Abel, well, he trusted his brother, so he went with him. And while they were out there alone, Cain didn't rule over his anger. He let it rule him. He attacked his brother Abel and killed him. A little while later, God asked Cain, "Where is your brother Abel?" And Cain's answer has become famous ever since. He acted like he didn't know and asked, "Am I my brother's keeper?" He was basically saying, "Is it my job to keep track of him?" But you can't hide and act like that. God told him that what he did was so terrible, it was like his brother's blood was crying out from the earth itself. The consequences were real, and there was no escaping them. So what happens to Cain now? His choice definitely has consequences, but the story actually takes a pretty surprising turn. Cain's punishment came in three parts. First, the ground wouldn't grow crops for him anymore. Second, he was banished, meaning he had to leave his home. And third, he was told he would be a wanderer, without a true place to belong. Cain was terrified. He said to God that the punishment was just too much to handle. He was afraid that now that he was all alone, anyone who found him might try to kill him. And this is that surprising moment I was talking about. God put a special mark on Cain. Now, a lot of people think this mark was a bad thing, like a mark of shame. But the story says it was actually the opposite. It was a sign from God to protect Cain so that no one would hurt him. And so, Cain left. He went to a distant land, and despite everything that had happened, he started over. He even built a city and had a family, but he carried the weight of his actions with him forever. But the story doesn't end in complete darkness. Back home, Adam and Eve had another son, named Seth. His birth was seen as a new hope, a fresh start for the family after such a terrible loss. So what's the one clear idea we can take away from this whole story? It's this: we don't always choose the feelings that show up in our hearts, like anger or jealousy. But the story of Cain and Abel is a powerful reminder that we always get to choose our actions. We have the power to rule over our feelings and not let them rule us.